Jennifer Haddad, and I am the director of the UCF Global Online English program. And this is a new program that's in the development stage for UCF Global, in that we are creating a completely online English program. Natalie Shandiaviano really had come up with the idea that she wanted to have an online program, completely online, that simulated what we do in our IEP with the levels, but that students would travel through levels online. And so thus was born the development of the UCF Global Online English program. And with that in mind, we knew that we had to be really, intentional about the delivery system and the way that the content was designed. My background is education, been over at UCF Global now for about 2.5 years, and just feeling really fortunate to be a part of this new and exciting program we're developing.
Christina Cabbage. I've actually only been at UCF for probably 8-9 months now, and I started at the Faculty Center. My role there was to provide professional development for faculty, and I came over there because I had extensive experience in the flipped classroom, blended learning, digital technologies, and one of my first weeks I was invited over to Global to talk about some professional development we were going to be doing with them, and that's when they kind of tapped into me. Prior to joining UCF, I've worked about 28 years in higher ed, have been a director, a dean, faculty member for different intensive English programs around the country. I'm an author, and I give a lot of professional development experiences for faculty all over the world on using digital technologies in the language classroom.
I was brought on board to work with the UCF Global Online English program, one of the things that I had been aware of that we used technology-wise was Lightboard, and I had learned about Lightboard when I was working over at the School of Education. I had heard about a training, I believe, of I think I alluded to this, this Lightboard thing, and I'm like, what is this Lightboard thing? So I went over and checked you all out, and that's when I was like, what is this over here? It was amazing to me what you had over there. So that's how I first discovered Classroom Building 1. When we started thinking about this online program that we were creating, we obviously wanted to highlight the technologies we have at the university and use them when applicable. Lightboard was one that was a no-brainer. And so we immediately jumped on saying we want to use Lightboard and learn more about any of the other technologies we have to see how we can incorporate that into our online platform.
I'm kind of an old school teacher. I need to write on the board. I need to explain things. And so when we talk about effective use, I know I go in, Gina goes in, Louisa went in. We all have what we call a content plan. And, we actually have it color coded. So we have different colors for what we're going to record on the Lightboard. And so planning ahead of time, that's why I know Marie would recognize this. I would always book 2 hours and I'd be out in 1 hour and 10 minutes because I just went through my plan. Whatever was highlighted that I had to record, I would record it. And I think just using that for teaching, especially English language learners, but really any discipline. So students could actually visually see the skill come to life is so critical. But I think it has to be really thoughtfully planned out before you go in there. Because I can see going in there and it being a real mess, trying and not being aware of the parameters of the board or the parameters of the camera. And so I think just careful planning and how you use the board, and I know exactly what I'm going to put where on the board. So I think that's just a real efficient use of it. Primarily, we knew we couldn't get into the FMC. So we were under a very tight time constraint, and I'm sure Jennifer could speak more about that. But for me as a teacher, I'm like, there is no way I can instruct without a board. There is no way. And so I actually belong to the Flip Learning Network. And so I started researching Lightboard. And through the Flip Learning Network, I found this guy who built his Lightboard. So I just showed the stuff to my husband and was like, can we do this? So we made a little prototype, and I happened to be on the phone with Jennifer that night. And I was like, here's my Lightboard. And she's like, oh my God, can you make them for everyone? So for me, it was just, researching it. I didn't realize how easy it was and how many people are out there building their own Lightboards.
As Christina alluded, we are under a pretty aggressive schedule. So as the director of the program, I need to make sure that we have our product delivered by fall. Summer, we're doing a soft launch, but by fall, we need to have this product ready to go for the masses. And COVID-19 didn't work into our plan because, we knew that Lightboard was instrumental. So the minute we knew, once we got wind of, campus was starting to close down, of course, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, how in the world is this going to work? Because the Lightboard is huge. It's a major part of our instructional videos. As Christina said, she primarily uses that. Thankfully, we have people on the team like a Christina who you can throw anything at her, like, how are we going to do this? And she'll come up with an idea. And so when she was like, we probably can build one, and then she showed the prototype, I almost fell off my chair because I was like, there's our solution. My first thought was, okay, it's going to be astronomical. Well, Christina can probably speak to that a little bit because she, did the research, and it was not astronomical. And it's amazing because what they built, it looks so good.
I showed my husband the one I found on Flip Learning, and then I think it was Louisa on our team. She had seen another video, so he looked at both of them, and of course he had to analyze them, and then he came up with his own version. It really was very easy. We had a glass cut, so for the 4 that we built that were the same, we had 4 pieces of glass cut, like picture frame glass, just a little thicker than picture frame glass. Ace Hardware, they actually had picture frame glass that was a little thinner or thicker, little thinner than the shower glass, but thicker than a regular picture frame. So they cut it for us by exact size that we wanted. And they were only like $25 a sheet for each one of those glasses, yeah. And then he just built a wood frame, and he used some kind of saw or something to like put it so it sits in the wood frame, and then LED lights. Those were probably the most expensive part of it, where LED lights go inside the Lightboard. And we do have like little remote control switches. So the Lightboards themselves, I don't think they were he managed to build 4 in a weekend, really in a few hours on a Saturday.
We had a little rendezvous to meet to get the transporting of them to our instructors. Luckily, we had some really nice husbands and friends who came, and we got those. So, I delivered them to instructors' houses, and voila, we have now, these Lightboards that are amazing that they're using in their homes.
Honestly, I think that the greater investment, not financially, but time and planning wise, is getting your room so it is dark as dark could be, and making sure you have the black curtains and setting your tripod in the right spot. I know that a couple of us have gotten the remote mics. So I have a Bluetooth mic that connects to my iPad, which is what I use as my camera. So all of, just the little things like that.
The main thing I would say is the Lightboards in and of themselves have been spectacular. What I'm starting to realize is it's the mics that we have to now start to invest in, because, again, if you can't hear the person, it's great to see them, but you got to hear them. So that's one of the things we're realizing, and Christina had invested in a really good mic, and that's just, it's making me realize that's another piece of the puzzle that we take for granted when we're in classroom building. One is that you just have state-of-the-art technology. But for the most part, like Christina said, what I'm hearing from our other instructors is that once they get their room set up, and the darkness is the key, right? And making sure the lighting, that it's working great.
Now like all the iPhones and iPads can reverse your camera. So at first people, in some of the videos, you see how you need to have a mirror so you can reverse the image. But on the iPhone, I just texted my nephew who's 19, and I was like, can I turn this picture around? And he was like, oh yeah, here's how you do it on your iPhone. So, we have all those tools. So just, being aware that if you have a current iPhone or iPad, it turns the image around, so you don't need to worry about that too much. I told you too, like, even though my room was dark, and I put, this is a darkening curtain on my wall, and a darkening curtain my husband stringed across my wall over there. I still, even with shutters, plantation shutters, I still had to put cardboard on my windows. So not even the slightest bit of light could filter in. Because then obviously it reflected off the glass and, that kind of thing. Making sure you use good markers also. So I know one of our teachers, he bought the, I forget what kind of markers he bought, but it looked like they were for Lightboard, but they weren't glass markers. I think the Lightboards, to me now, and reflecting on it, are the smallest piece of getting everything set up right. That's a great question, because a lot of my friends always ask me this, because I actually worked from home 6 months before I came to UCF. One thing that I learned in that process is my routine is the same whether I come in this office or I drive to UCF. So I still get up, I still shower, I still put on makeup, I still get dressed. So those for me are really, really important things. Time you're working from home, when you're used to not working from home, you need to go through those same habits and routines that you would do if you were going to work.
I agree with that too. For me, there was a period where I worked from home as well, and I think the routine is vital. Because I know if I don't get up and start my routine, if I were to stay in my pajamas, my day is just. So I agree with her with the routine. That helps us stay productive. It's sort of, you've got your schedule, regardless if you're in the office or now. I say I'm going to work. It's my office in the house, right? It's the same mentality. It's the same mindset you're putting in place. I would just like to thank you too for the opportunity to share with you what we've done. It's exciting, and I think you can tell we're just excited about this program we're developing at UCF Global, but it's even exciting to be able to partner with y'all, and then to know that the work we continued was really inspired by you all, that the technology that we're using, that you all are bringing to the university, we just ran with that. And so I just thank you for that opportunity to share with the rest of what we've done.